Yeah, hello everyone and welcome to the lovely Silverstone circuit for round 8 of the AOR PC Split 1 Season 10. And yeah, we're jumping once again in our Marussia, the only Marussia actually in this race. My teammate Lewitsky currently away with school for 1 week, so just have a little defend alone that constructors lead we have at the moment. And we're here on our out lap for a second run in qualifying. We abandoned, I think, the first run. And although the rain, the prediction said 100% chance of rain in qualifying, well, it's dry. It's a little bit buggy sometimes in F1 2013. But anyway, PB was a 28.3, high 28.3 I think so far. Would be nice if we can get near that as we're preparing now out of that last section and into the first corner, shifting into 7th gear for that, and now preparing for turn 3, hard braking maneuver into first gear, clipping the apex nicely and run at the car wide to open up turn 4 nicely. And we're also having a good traction out of that corner. I think that was a good sector for me. Unfortunately we can't see the split time as we're braking now down into first gear for Brooklands, maybe listing the apex just a little bit into Luffield now into first gear and shifting up now the gears, also with a good X, a little bit cautious, but you can do that through Luffield. That's not bad at all. Now the old turn 1, full throttle with no problems at all. And now preparing for Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. As we missed shifting there, I wanted to stay in 6th gear, but I shifted down to 5th. That lost us a little bit of speed here. The Ferrari makes space for us wonderfully, and there's another car in front which stays just on the racing line. That cost us a little bit of speed here through Stowe. I think that was Marco FD, and now braking into first gear for the last section into the chicane and using all of the track here. A little bit of oversteer, but nothing too bad. What time will it be? I won 28.5, which is not too bad. Currently P3, in the end P9 with a 128.5, which is certainly not such a bad time. Not perfect. You surely lost a little bit of time because we weren't able to take the racing line into Stowe because Marco FD was sitting there on the in the braking zone, which was a little bit unfortunate, but it didn't really ruin my lap, so I didn't really care about that afterwards. So Marco FD taking pole position 127.7, which is incredible. 3 guys into the 27s with Magnussen and Honey Badger in P2 and 3, Double D in 4, and Kramer in P11, which is a returning driver from Season 8, I think. He was in Split 1 in Season 8, and also 2 other new guys, Nuka, who came up from Split 2, and Dashima, also a returning driver from Season 9, which is fairly good. Now we have a full grid, sort of, 15 drivers today, and yeah, that's our setup. It's actually raining, so 55% chance of rain, so we're doing a little bit more, we need a little bit more wing for those first half of the race, 4-1 wings actually. And I think I also went down with the gears a little bit in qualifying, just I think 1 or 2 to the left each, not too sure. So yeah, starting in P9, which is my worst qualifying position this season on a track I'm not too bad at actually, but I have sometimes the feeling that everyone is good at Silverstone, everyone loves that track and everyone wants to perform well. So I think it's no doubt that this qualifying session was very, very, very fast. I think P15 was a 129 flat, which is still not too bad. So anyway, we're waiting for the lights, 5 lights, and away we go for round 8 at the Silverstone circuit. Just hope we have a good start here off the line, which we do, having the outside line for turn 1. and we're having a better run through that than Nuka. Again, the outside line for turn 3, braking cautiously as there's contact, I think, between Dashima and Honey Badger now. Again, outside line for us for turn 4. Fizzler runs out too wide. And Hamish with a bad traction out of that corner. We are up into P5 after 4 corners. That was a perfect start for us. We went pretty nicely through. We just kept out of jail there. And yeah, gained 4 positions off the start, which is very, very, very good to see. And Dashima also made up some position, I think. So where did he start? I think he started in P5, I think. So he gained 1 position. Honey Badger fell back a little bit through that due to that contact, and yeah, I mean, let's see what we can do in these inter conditions, which are fairly better for me than the full wet conditions. So I shouldn't be lack of pace that was the case in Canada. So in the early parts of that race. So we should be fine here in the first half of the race when it rains. So we're making up some ground a little bit on Dashima, who was actually attacking Double D a little bit, but he made a little bit of a mistake into the chicane. And yeah, actually we're so between 2 guys which we know pretty well from season 9.5. We had some good battling with Dashima there, and also with Nuka through the entire season. So we know them pretty well, actually racing with them wheel to wheel. And now we're meeting again, so that's pretty interesting. As Dashima made a little bit of a mistake into the first couple of corners, and now he's going defensive into Brooklands, and he's braking it himself and going up the inside here, and now having the outside line for Luffy, which try to squeeze him onto the curb here a little bit, and that he does not get profits from that inside line and move his stick. But I think if he uses a little bit of curse, yes he does, and goes up the inside for the old turn 1, and he makes that move stick barely, and we have to go up the throttle because we ran a little bit out too wide. And missing a little bit the apex, which is not too good. Compromises our line through the entire section here, which is, especially in the dirt, yeah, it's not really a thing you want to do. And I think we're not making a counter here on Dashima or Dashima into stone. No, we don't. He runs a little bit deep, but it's not too major. And the top 3 are already pulling away, so that's not really good to see. But I mean, if you saw that those qualifying times, I mean, was pretty much clear that Marco FD and also Magnussen, the race winner from last race, will pull away slightly, and Double D hangs it with them at the moment. As our lap was 2 seconds slower than Marco FD, but also close battling with Dashima on that lap. So shouldn't be too bad here on pace at the moment. Nuka still in P6, and the field behind that is very, very close together, as the car is pretty far behind now. I think maybe that's Nikki, I'm not too sure. I think it's Nikki, as we're skipping all the way down to lap 7. You lost a little bit of touch to Dashima. Maybe just over 1 second the gap now. And Hamish now in P6, who passed Nuka, who already pitted, I think, on lap 6. So some guys went pretty early for the stops, as it was not entirely clear when the rain will stop. I mean, 2 instances is fairly the way to go, but when will we stop is certainly the question, as I thought firstly to follow Dashima into the pits, as you saw my line through there, but I decided against it, which was maybe a little bit of a mistake, because now pretty much everyone behind us pits, and the top 2 are still out, but just have to have a good in lap now to not lose too many positions, because especially on the wet tires and also the inters, the undercut is huge, and especially on this track now with these very, very, very worn intermediate tires after 7.5 laps almost now. So skipping to the end of that lap, gap to Magnussen is already 11 seconds after 8 laps, which is pretty insane, as both as the leading cars now pitting as well. And Honey Badger now behind us in P4. Let's see. If we have a good pit stop, we should have a good one. And now pretty much everyone behind us is pitting. No, I think the first car who's not pitting is Double D. He's a little bit further in front. And there are a pretty bunch of cars coming now into the first corner, and we're losing positions to Dashima, who is that. Nuka is now in P5. And there goes Fizzler maybe. Here, yeah, Fizzler goes past, and Hamish as well. So losing 3 positions due to getting undercuts, which is not really good. I think Fizzler pitted very, very early. I think with that 5 or 6 or something, and Nuka as well pretty early. So it's no wonder that they undercut us. But if we had come into the pits with the Dashima, I think we should have stayed out in front of both these who are now in front of us. And also, yeah, that we also only lost 1 position to Nuka. But yeah, that's a little bit of strategy error from us here at the moment, losing 2 positions, unnecessary positions. But well, race is still long. Only 8.5 laps completed, and yeah, we now of course have the advantage of the fresher tires, so that should also play a factor at the end of this stint when we are all going onto the prime tires. As Fizzler and Hamish getting very, very close, and Hamish runs wide, and we cannot avoid him. That would have been a pretty easy move here on Hamish, but we tapped the back of him, and now Titan on our inside. We have to leave him a little bit of room here on the inside for the exit of the chicane, but we're having a better exit and we're staying in front for the moment. That would have been pretty annoying if he got past us there. So I wanted to stay in front there, as Double D sets a new fastest lap of 1:33.4 as we are locking up a little bit into the 3rd corner. And yeah, not really looking too good at the moment. A little bit of some mistakes here and there in the early parts of the 2nd stint. Just try to keep it with Hamish, and maybe catch up also to Fizzler, which is certainly the task now, not defending from Titan, which is not that what we want at the moment. We certainly do not gain much time here in the slipstream of Hamish, as we're skipping 1 lap later, skipping to lap 11 1 lap later, as we're a little bit closer to Hamish now, but missing the apex for Beckett's, and that compromises our speed out of that corner. We're not having too much curves left, and now Titan well and truly in the slipstream. Is he going to make a move into Stowe? Yes, he does. We have to turn out of it a little bit to leave him a little bit more space than I originally planned, but now he has the outside line for the chicane, but we're braking very, very late to cover that off. Very, very late braking with this thing. I think was still okay. We didn't squeeze him here out of the track. I think we just braked him and ran very, very deep into that corner, but we countered that attack from him, which was very, very crucial. Really didn't want to lose that position at all, because I do not want to lose more time, as we lost a couple of too much positions for my liking, as we were in P5 and now we are in P8, and skipping to lap 13. I think Hamish got past Fizzler. Yes, he did. Had some very, very intense battling up the front, with also a couple of contacts, as Fizzler and Hamish both running wide there, and that gives us now the opportunity to maybe have a look at up at Fizzler. He goes a little bit defensive here into Stone. Nah, he does not. Grabs a little bit of too much curb here, and he's flying straight on the outside here, as he's diving into the pits, which is very, very strange, because rain is stopping in the next couple of laps, according to the engineer, so he's pitting another time for the inters, I think, so that's not really good. And now, listen. We think it's time to switch over to the dry tyre. Pit in and change your tyres. thanks, engineer. That was that was a little bit too late. But it's always a good indicator when the engineer said you're on the wrong comparative tire. Then it's definitely the best point to switch on to the prime tires. It will be, of course, the prime tires because yeah, they will last 12 or at least 11 laps. They will last that long. That's true. Yeah, that's pretty obvious. So skipping to the end of lap 15, and now we are also planning to go into the pits. Hamish goes into the pits as well. So, and let's see where if we getting another cut from certain guys behind as well, which wouldn't be a good thing to see because we stayed out longer twice now. To have the better tires in the end, and yeah, it's certainly just a praying that we're not getting too much traffic coming out of the pits and having a good final stint and maybe making up some positions. Although it will be very, very difficult for to pass Hamish because he was very, very fast at the straights. I noticed that in the inter on the inter stints behind him. So coming out in P9, but remember, Fizzler, who's now in front of Honey Badger in P6, has to pit, and I think another car who's also in front and now has to pit another time. So we will gain 2 positions after that, and that means we are into P7. After that, after everyone pits, Hamish makes a little bit of a mistake into Luffield. A little bit of too much wheel spin out of Brooklands, and no, we're not really making a move on him. And look at this, what I mentioned before, he was very, very strong on the straights, and look at this, he's pulling away like somewhat into the first corner, and bye-bye Hamish, pretty much. And that will make it pretty difficult to overtake him. I mean, we're not having too high. I mean, it's 4-1 wings. I think that's a good balanced way to deal also with the intermediate tires. So, well, but Hamish certainly has less wing than us than we do at the moment. As Fizzler now dives into the pits for his primes to set on a new prime tire stint. And let's see who's in the pits as well. Well, I don't know, maybe it was Titan, I'm not too sure. So, yeah, as Nuka sets a new fastest lap of the race, he's currently in front of Honey Badger. There you can see the Williams here turning into turn 4. And mean P4 is still in striking distance, but although, as I said multiple times now, Hamish will be very, very fast, and Honey Badger will be very, very fast. And you see that on lap 19, both passed Nuka, and now it's pretty much our task to get past Nuka. And I think that's the only task now to the in the end of this race, because I really do not think we are able to catch Hamish, who's already out of DRS, I think, from Nuka. Yes, he is, as Nuka runs a little bit too wide, but we're not making a move here into the chicane, do we? No, we don't. A little bit of a lag bubble, actually, so we have to watch out for that as well. Magnussen stats a new fastest lap, you saw that earlier, 129.2 on a still drying track. I mean, it's not entirely... Oh, as we're making a massive mistake into the first corner, we turned in too early, well, that lost us some speed, and we already, I mean, we planned to overtake Nuka now out of that corner here into Brooklands, but we are way too far back to do anything on this straight. And maybe if we're not careful enough, also Dashima gets involved, who dropped back a little bit into P8 now, 1.8 seconds the gap to him. As we're running a little bit too wide again into Luffield, and was very, very annoyed at that, because we were already so close to Nuka, and and we just made two very stupid mistakes in pretty much one lap, and that lost us some ground and some ground at least. So we now have to catch up to him as well. One lap later we are already again in his DRS, so just about 7/10 the gap to him, and Dashima 1.3 seconds behind. So catched up a little bit due to those mistakes. It really seems a little bit that we are just a tiny bit faster than Nuka at the moment. So we really should be able to make a move at some point, as we now putting up into rich to stay to get maximum slipstream effect, as he makes a little bit of runs a little bit too deep into Chapel, I think that was, and now we have a go here up the inside into Stowe. If you're nailing braking, that should be the move done. Yes, move is done. P6 for the moment, and we still have a little bit of fuel to play with, +1, which is fairly good also to defend. I think I do not really think that I'm pulling away now, because pace was not too far off during the entire race, so I think he should be able to stay in the DRS for the next couple of laps. And as we're setting a new personal best, 30.1, which is certainly very good time on in these still dry conditions. I mean, the track is not really fast. 29 should be possible on a dry track, but on a drying track, when we had intermediate conditions, and you saw earlier the fastest lap of Magnussen was at 29.2, which just shows how flyy Marco and Hamish were up the front, as Magnussen wins his second race of the season, his second race in a row. They were just out of this world in this race. WD couldn't deal anything with it. Nuka stayed with us in DRS, but he couldn't really make a move, a counter on us, as now WD crosses the line in P3. So after 6 races with having troubles with the glitch, he's finishing a race in a very solid P3, and has an 8-second gap to Hamish, who got past Honey Badger I think on the last lap, so it's a little bit unfortunate for the Red Bull driver. We are in a still in a reasonable P6. I was not I think my pace wasn't that bad, but 35 seconds to the lead is very much, I have to say. Maybe lost a little bit too much time in the second stint on the inter stint, behind behind some guys who undercutted me. Nuka in P7, very solid points for him. Dashima in 8th, Lucas in 9th, and he's in 10th? I can't remember, sorry. Fizzler in 11th, Titan in 12th. Destroyed his vehicle actually on the final lap, so he's stays in front of Nicky, who had +1 lap in the end. Drivers' Championship, of course, Marco now with a lead of 48 points to Magnussen, who jumped up from P6 to P2 with his second win here this afternoon. Hamish in P3, Klewitsky, who's of course not starting, losing position, 2 positions. I'm losing also a position. Coolcat loses a position. Honey Badger stays in P7. Double D makes up some ground, doubles his points today, up to 30 points. Constructors, well, losing the lead to the Ferraris because they had a 1-3 this race. 13 points, still not the end of the world, but it will be a tough fight throughout this season, I think. McLaren's now also not too far behind Toro Rosso, Red Bull, Caterham, Williams and Mercedes. So that was it from this race. Hope you enjoyed it. Next time it's the German Grand Prix at the Nürburgring. Really looking forward to that track. Bye bye.